but she was spinning on a thin black sheet of glass. She saw both the lives flash before her eyes. She didn't even have time to cry. She was
In November, day after Thanksgiving or day before, we were in New York visiting my in-laws, and I had been really sick. I was sick the week before. I was throwing up at the office. I kept getting sick and I didn't know why. And so I thought, hey, am I pregnant? And so I did a pregnancy. I did multiple and they were negative. So I thought, I'm not pregnant. I must just have the flu. And then it went away. And then as we went to New York on the flight out there, I was sick again. And then on the drive from the airport to their house, so they live in a very rural area in New York, or a small town, I should say. And on that drive, I think it was a 2-hour drive, I was very sick. They had to pull over. I remember I went to a Subway and I got sick and I just did not know what was going on. So I ended up taking a pregnancy test there. And that is when I found out I was pregnant, or I was pregnant. Ended up, I had 2 babies, not just one, but I had Daniel and another baby, which is why I was so sick. But interesting that my tests initially were negative. Very happy moments initially, starting with the pregnancy of Daniel, the birth of Daniel, and then everything really went downhill after. So after Daniel, I did not go on any birth control or anything. And my cycle did start again, I think 6 weeks after he was born. I started pumping instead of nursing. I had a huge oversupply. Huge. I had 2 deep freezers full of milk, but my cycle started pretty soon. And then we didn't do anything to prevent pregnancy. So it was May. It's really unique because my cycle lasted a very long time. I think it was about 10 days. And then it stopped for a couple of days and then it started again, which was very odd. And then I think about 3 weeks later, I was going to work out and I just felt, I don't know, jovial. And not that way. I felt different, but in a good way. I just felt really jovial. And it's very interesting. I haven't really, I guess, mentioned this, but I was at a point where I was 43 and I just thought with Daniel, as he's getting older, I wanted, or I was hoping for 2 children at least. And then I just thought, I'm fine with Daniel. I wanted to get back on the pill and I just really didn't think that another child was in the cards for us. And a lot had to do with, I just started noticing some things. So at the time I was working full time and Nathan had his rental properties, but it was rent to own. So there really wasn't a lot he had to do with that, meaning he didn't have to do maintenance, etc. And he stayed home with Daniel. But with that being said, while it was great that he stayed home with Daniel and they really had a good time together, I noticed that he was focusing on his phone more than anything else. The phone was always in his hand. And it progressed from his phone to his computer. So then he would be doing games on his phone, like soccer games, and then games on his computer at the same time. And I was tired. I was still pumping. I was tired. And we had Daniel. And then I don't know. It seemed like a lot. And at the time I was making not a ton of money at all. And so it just seemed like it probably wasn't in the cards for us. And so I just thought, you know what, it's probably better we just do not have another child. And I was going to talk to Nate about it, about getting on birth control. And then I went to the gym. It was really jovial. And then for some reason, something really fell off, and in a good way. in a very good way. It just felt off. And I thought, oh, maybe I should take a pregnancy test. I have no idea why. It's not where I had missed because there was not enough time between periods. I was really confused why. I don't know. Anyway, and it ended up I was pregnant with Hannah, little Hannah girl. I guess if you're over 40, they highly recommend to induce at 38 weeks. I was really against it for Daniel. So I was almost 39 weeks with Daniel. And looking back now, I probably could have pushed back. But I guess it's to prevent preeclampsia because that can happen when you're older. When you're an older mom. I'm closer to 38 weeks. Let's go ahead and induce. So they went ahead and induced me. And it was Daniel's, I felt, was a piece of cake. Were released. My precious little thing. But really for Nate, being a stay-at-home dad with 2 kids. And 3 months later, he had his relapse. So we'll get into that. I have to go get the kiddos.